Welcome to the CrackBerry.com podcast, episode 090 for Wednesday, August 8th, 2012.
CrackBerry.com.
Hey everybody, Kevin here for CrackBerry.com. It's been a while since we've done a show, but we are here today, back in action. Joining us, almost as always, is, let's go bottom, Chris Umiastowski. Good to have you on.
How's it going, everyone? Yeah. Hi, everyone. We haven't done this in a while, so it should be a good show.
And then we're going to jump over to Blaze, because he's the man.
Howdy, howdy.
Look at this. Are you smoking too for breakfast, or what's the deal? For anybody who's watching this later in the day, we're recording this at like 9 a.m., 8:30 a.m., so...
Just getting started, so I'll have a cigarette here.
Just getting started. This is just a morning cocktail.
And then
comes later.
And then we'll jump up to the newest father, Adam.
Hello.
That was awesome.
I already had breakfast.
Glad you're so engaged today. But
I'm getting overwhelmed by your hair, so I need to tone it down a little bit.
It is getting rather, I don't know what the word is, unwieldy. It's, I don't know, longish, but old ladies love it. I'm telling you, like, old ladies love guys with long hair. It's this weird, it's this thing. I mean, it's a thing. Like, anybody who's watching, just grow your hair out and tell me the old ladies don't start, just giving you the ogle eyes. Like, now I feel like a woman, right? With a beautiful woman who gets looked at a lot. It's very
You feel like a woman because of your hair? Is that what you're saying?
I wasn't going to go there.
I'm going to move on right now. So, everybody, welcome back. I honestly don't remember the last time we recorded a show, which means we'll be out of practice for another 30 seconds. But the good news is that the big delay means we actually have a lot to talk about today. Like, we actually have new hardware to discuss. We got a 4G LTE playbook. We even have a Curve 9220 edge only that nobody really cares about. But hey, it is new hardware. And heck, I think we saw photos of like a 10-inch playbook from the, RIM archives that finally leaked out. And we have all the RIM annual general meeting of shareholders stuff because we haven't recorded since then, right?
Yeah, we did a live podcast at the event, but not a wrap-up piece afterwards.
After that. Right, so we can talk about all that good stuff. So I'm not sure where we want to begin. Maybe we should go back to the AGM because I think pretty much everything else happened after that. Obviously, we covered the AGM itself. I mean, the big things that happened beyond that were another interview with RIM CEO Thorsten Heinz. Got to sit down with Franck Boubin, the new Chief Marketing Officer of Research in Motion. And officially, I no longer call it Research in Motion. It's really funny. I think I might do a blog post actually, later today saying I now refer to Research in Motion as BlackBerry all the time, unless I'm using a sentence where I'm talking about the company referring to the product. Then I would still say, Research in Motion, makers of BlackBerry. But otherwise, I'm always just going to say, BlackBerry CEO Thorsten Heinz, because it's just, I don't know, it's better, I think. Don't you guys agree? No,
kind of. People actually.
I don't know. I mean, I just picked on a UK blogger who kept calling the company BlackBerry. Despite the fact that it should be the company's name, it would make more sense, but it isn't.
Yeah, you're old school, Like actually, whenever Yumi writes a post for CB, I always go through it. I added a few more Blackberries and put in a few because Yumi's just rim. But it's it's all right. I'll do. You know what though, Chris? I'm gonna do a full disclosure post saying this is what I do, and I've actually been doing it subtly over the last couple of months, more and more. But
yeah, it's okay if you write a post, say, "Hey, I know this is technically wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway." Then at least you've said it.
I think we'll do that. And you know what's funny is nobody's really interjected in the comments and like ripped me apart to say, "Hey, it's RIM, not BlackBerry." So I think we target the mainstream, and the mainstream people call it BlackBerry. So we shall do the same. We're not above all that
because we're mainstream.
Because we're mainstreamers. Yeah,
yeah,
we're like
bro.
We're like the Vamps
All right.
and True. Blaze is a fang banger and streaming it. That's gonna go way over anybody's head for anybody who's not, watched every podcast we've ever recorded, but that's okay. No, so I mean, talking about
you bastard.
All right.
Just
Don't
so
get the
people,
random email with that,
just so people know, we did a contest a year ago, or is it 2 years ago? It's probably like 2 years ago, even.
Yeah, it was probably more like 2 years ago.
So it was like first season of True Blood, the vampire, show on HBO, and fangbangers are people who like to make sweet, sweet love to vampires and get their blood sucked by vampires. So I don't know where we even came up with this. I think Blaze missed a show, so as retaliation for him skipping a podcast, we then said, send an email to, Blaze at CrackBerry.com saying Blaze is a fangbanger and you can win. And
you can send that email now and we'll send you something cool.
Oh, oops. Did I just say that?
I'll send you some CrackBerry stickers.
Funny though. But I digress. God, the thing with this hair now is you always have to put your hands through it to get it out of your face. It's freaking.
Totally. Kevin, why don't you tell us about the AGM?
Back to business. So the AGM talked about, I want to talk about the stuff that happened after. So number one, interview with Torsten Heinz and Frank Boubin. Probably the biggest bit of news we got out of that, which nobody else had, we got the exclusive, is thanks to the delay of the first BlackBerry 10 touchscreen device going now into 2013, it's actually going to compress the launch time that was previously planned of the follow-up keyboard BB10 device. So what's going to happen now, and it's brilliant, is RIM is going to launch BlackBerry 10 in 2013, and they're going to announce both the full touchscreen and the full keyboard devices at the same time. And all marketing efforts and everything are going to go in both models. So there's going to be none of these articles of oh my God, they're abandoning the physical keyboard phone because they're launching a touchscreen phone. No, they're going to come out and they're going to say, here's BlackBerry 10, pick your flavor, full touchscreen, keyboard version, take what you want. The release dates are going to be slightly staggered, but they're going to announce them at the same time. They'll say, full touchscreen available this date, physical keyboard version available this date. It might be a few weeks delayed, but all marketing materials, everything will really be building up both. And you can expect that they're going to be pushing that RIM and BlackBerry has the best keyboard and typing experience, whether it's touchscreen or physical keyboard, which they've always owned. So to me, that's really brilliant. It still sucks that we have to wait, August, September, October, November, December, about 6 months before this happens. But it makes way more sense to me that they launched that, and obviously they're going to be coming after iPhone 5 no matter what at this point. So that extra gap of, if they would have launched in October when, iPhone 5 is launching and getting a lot of hype, this way that'll be a little quieter by this point in time, and RIM should be able to get more of the marketing attention from carriers and the media and everybody else if they launch in that kind of time zone. So I don't know. I think it's awesome. So I don't know if you guys want to add 3 cents because I just added about a quarter's worth.
Yeah, I think what you said makes sense. The only other point to add is that RIM has kind of confirmed officially that the delay in BlackBerry 10 is really a 6 to 8 week delay, and they pushed it out into the new year because of the dry season right before the holidays. Right, if you don't have it in the stores, there's no point in having it late into Q4. So I think that's good to see that the slip that RIM experienced wasn't really as significant as it seemed on the last conference call. And again, unfortunately, it comes back to them packaging their message poorly. I think they could have done a lot better job explaining what the delay really was due to, and the magnitude of the delay only being 6 to 8 weeks really isn't that bad. And it's going to be nice to see what you said, Kevin, about both devices being announced at the same time, so that you're not going to see a whole bunch of misguided and confused bloggers writing about RIM giving up on QWERTY.
Yeah, which we've seen, right? I mean, at BlackBerry World, they kind of made that mistake by, they wanted to show off the bells and whistles. They showed off the new keyboard with the swipe functionality and everything, or not the swipe, but the, flick of the words up functionality. And some people said cool, and then the people looking for link bait were like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. There's no BlackBerry,
Mm-hmm.
which then, they had to clarify the next day. So it'll be good to see that argument die. And that was the big thing. I mean, I talked to Heinz for a while. We covered a lot of topics in there, but to me, that was the biggest news. I asked him for his message to CrackBerry Nation, which I don't think I blogged, but it was similar to the first time we spoke to him, which was, don't stop believing, and thanks for the support. And, we're going to make sure it rocks and win you guys back with an experience that you really think is for you. They're literally building this phone for us at this point, right? They need to start by winning the core over, winning over the people with a new experience that still is true to the values of the BlackBerry user experience we've all loved. And, and Franck Boubin kind of reiterated that a big part of their early marketing strategy with BB10 will be winning over, the fans and the core audience first. So, we become their soldiers of, marketing message. Cause that's really powerful these days, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you think about it, I know Renee and I were chatting quickly about the marketing budget that a company the size of Samsung has, and, whether anyone can compete with that. RIM is these days too small to really compete with the huge budget of a big company. So they need to have their user base of, almost 80 million users just talking about BlackBerry 10. That's what they need to have happen right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Samsung, I mean, that's another article I think I need to write. It's interesting with the Olympics on, and, the Olympics have been awesome to watch, actually. I think London's done a really solid job with the whole thing. But, I still have this HTC One X as part of the Mobile Nations World Tour, which I've kind of taken a hiatus on. I need to get some articles written for that still. But what's funny is I was using this this past weekend. It was a holiday long weekend in Canada. And the number of people who walked up to me and said, "Is that the Galaxy S3?" Ridiculous. Not one person said it was a One X. I mean, if you have the two phones together and you know what you're talking about, you're right. You kind of, you're an Android Central blogger. Yes, you can tell. But to the average mainstream person right now, because of Samsung's marketing budget, they have totally taken over the oversized big touchscreen look with sort of a thinner profile, slight curve to it for being the S3. And it's funny, literally probably 30 people to date now have come up to me and asked if this is an S3. Not one has said, "Is that a 1X?"
We have a ton of those commercials here. I don't know if you have all the S3 commercials during the Olympics for you, but I mean, I see the same ones like over and over again after every break. There's a bunch, they're all Olympic themed. There's one where they have the red S3 where they're like carrying the torch and a bunch of people running, and there's all kinds of different ones, but that's like the only phone. Like if I didn't know any better, like I would say that is the only device that Samsung has right now. Yeah. Is the S3, because it's just, it's like pretty much every commercial break, it's like S3, S3, S3. So, it makes sense that nobody would know what other devices are out there, and they would just assume that's what it is.
Official sponsors. It was even in the opening ceremony. So,
yeah, I think in the United States, and probably in most developed countries, it seems like Android is synonymous with Samsung Galaxy now.
And it shows the power of more of a global all-carrier launch, right? Because, the One X, for example, in the States, it's with who? AT&T? Does anybody else even have it? Blaze, you should know this.
T-Mobile does. They have variation of it.
Okay, but the
S1S.
Yeah, S3 is same hardware, same physical size and that across all the carriers. I mean, even if there's radio differences in that, it's the same, like every accessory works with it the same way, etc. It's really finally one integrated global Android launch. And Samsung is totally maximizing that initiative right now. So
yeah.
But it's interesting because, I mean, in the keyboard world, everybody has always thought any phone with a physical keyboard is a BlackBerry, right? So even when you've seen devices like the Motorola Q9H or, anything come out with a physical keyboard, the average mainstreamer refers to it as a BlackBerry. And I think the iPhone has a distinct enough look and enough exposure that everybody can spot an iPhone. But now it feels like there's this third device in there, and it's the Galaxy S3 at the moment, which just wraps up the supersized full touchscreen device. And that's what everybody's going to think, so again, a 1X or something big in touchscreen, it's getting this kind of branding, a recognition right now. And it's going to be interesting to see what RIM does with the final version of a full touchscreen BB10 device, because I think they're smart enough that they know they can't fall into that trap where, their big slab device gets pigeonholed into being, oh, is that an S3? It needs to be distinct enough to stand on its own.
Exactly.
Woo!
So what's next? What's on our agenda here?
We're done.
No, I think we need to touch base on quick sum up of the CMO interview. I think really good guy. I mean, RIM's been without a proper CMO for a while now. I think even when they had, what's his name? Keith Party. I don't know if he ever got up to stride with his CMO initiatives. So now you have a guy who seems to be really smart, has full support of the company. And I like the cut of his jib. I'm actually pretty bullish that when BB10 launches, RIM is actually going to do a good job with whatever budget they have, marketing this thing. And I think a big part of what RIM needs to do is not just market it in terms of exposure, but it's to create the awareness of who this device is for and who it might not be for. We've often said the line, BlackBerry, it's tools, not toys, that kind of thing. And I think one of the risks with BB10, and I mean, we've seen a lot of the functionality, the flow UI, the swipe gestures, one-handed ease of use. A lot of those are a little bit more complicated compared to, say, the open close, paradigm of iOS. And that means you're going to need to attract people who get, that it is a bit more complicated and get that it's better, but it is a bit more complicated. So it might not be for the 4-year-old or the 84-year-old, a line which I use a lot. And I think that's going to be an important part for RIM to figure out, that they could easily screw up. Because the worst thing that could happen to BB10 is people buy it and they're like, oh, it's a little complicated. It's too hard to use, this, that.
Mm-hmm.
And here's who it's for. Here's why it's amazing. And, if you do find it complicated or something else, that's just because it's not for you, And I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's something they're going to have to deal with for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I
feel like I'm talking way too much per normal here. So
no.
Other things from the AGM. I mean, the big thing was our research piece last week. Vic
Alboini, I think it is. Something like that.
Alboini.
We'll go with that.
I never asked him how to pick. So, but if anybody missed the article, you should definitely go read it. It was our, me and I tag teamed it. It was probably one of our best articles on CrackBerry in the history of our site, to be honest, right? Full out journalistic style research piece / special report.
Yeah, it was a big one.
And it wasn't a hatchet job. It was really a fair assessment of who this guy is. For those who know about him, he needed no introduction, but it was a little bit of a backgrounder for people who didn't know who Vic of Jaguar Capital is. And, why we think his actions in the media are really not in the best interest of shareholders, even though he says, the things he says are supposed to be. And then we played it fair. And we went through his business case and in depth, a lot of his ideas are actually good. And we agreed with what we agreed with and we disagreed where we disagreed. And we're pretty harsh on RIM's board of directors too. So we turned it into a very productive piece, I think, is really the way to look at it. For, at the end of the article, we said to Vic, don't do this anymore. To RIM, get a new board of directors. To the media, start doing some research and ask for help. Don't write about things you don't know about, because a lot of people do.
Amen.
And to CrackBerry Nation, keep everybody honest in the process here, because that's going to give RIM the best. It's basically, it keeps things honest, and that's what RIM needs right now, is honesty in the media and the marketplace. I mean, they have enough tough times, and those should be reported, but they should be reported accurately. And that's not happening a lot still. So I think we're on a bit of a mission to correct that, and that was part one of that mission. So that was quite fun.
Yeah.
Okay, Adam, introduce the next topic here, because
what do you want to get into next? Should we talk some playbook or some fun BlackBerry 10 stuff?
Let's start with playbook. Give the playbook a bit.
Tell us about it.
We have two big things with the playbook. I think we touched a little bit that we saw a photo of a 10-inch playbook kind of popped up, which was kind of exciting. And then RIM also announced their 4G LTE BlackBerry playbook tablet, which we can get into a little bit more. But first, I don't know, I think it was last week, we had posted a 10-inch playbook picture that popped up. And it was cool. I'm still kind of not feeling it, but it's just, it's very square to me and seems kind of odd. And I don't know that's anything that will ever exist anytime in the near future, at least. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I wouldn't use it, I don't think. I mean, I like the playbook, the little guy, and it's the only version there is and the only one that I want. And I don't know that having another larger size would make a difference in any way.
Yeah, and I think if they make a larger size, they're going to have to stick with that same aspect ratio, right? I mean, it would to go and have a larger size that would be, like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, like an iPad, would just add complexity, and that's not where the Android platform and the BlackBerry platform, from tablet perspective, seems to be going. So I hope they stay with that form factor, or that aspect ratio, I should say.
I think, first thing is putting that device into perspective. I'm pretty sure that specific hardware design is not something that'll ever be released. I mean, that was that's pretty much a 2-year-old design, right? In terms of the original playbook, they kept the same idea of the playbook. I think going ahead with BB10, RIM is probably going to come up with a new distinct ID for all the hardware design, and I think the playbook, both 7-inch and 10-inch at some point will get that sort of an update. Could be wrong, though. But I mean, going back a long time, we heard about that 10-inch device existing. And we also heard about it existing in not just that form factor, but also the one that had more of the angular edges of that original BB10 leak that happened for the original London device. That there's apparently a 10-inch playbook that sort of had that kind of a look also. So I'm sure RIM has pumped out a bunch of different designs and things. As for will they ever release a 10-inch? I think they will. I mean, RIM has been pretty clear that they're now participating in the mobile computing space. It's not just a space. They've said, we don't believe the future is in laptops. We think it's, tablets and phones. And I think for them to really fill out the mobile computing area, they're going to need that sort of a 10-inch device at some point. But it's interesting, right? Steve Jobs says 7-inch tablets are DOA, they're dead. And now you look at the last 6 months, and between the Kindle Fire and now the Galaxy, whatever it's called,
Next
7. Apple supposedly announcing a mini iPad coming next up, in along with the iPhone 5. I mean, it seems like 7-inch is where it's at. RIM was there first almost, so. It'll be rather interesting to see exactly how it plays out, but I think it'd be later in the year if a 10-inch comes. And I think you're right, though, Yumi. It's introducing more complexity on the app side of things, and apps are where RIM still needs to close that gap very quickly.
Yeah, they need to go through a phase here of major consolidation, and just have a couple of BlackBerry 10 devices, have one playbook for, sizing, and then just dominate with that.
I would like to have at the big. I like the big form factor though for the way I typically use a tablet around, especially if full touchscreen BB10 phones are going 4-inch, 4.1 inch. At that point, you almost have a 7-inch tablet. I mean, not quite, but the app experience is kind of similar. So I don't know. It almost depends what you want to buy, right?
I just want a BlackBerry 10 device that size. Give me one that size, and then you can take away my playbook. I won't need it anymore.
Well, exactly. But then if you want a tablet, then you probably want the bigger tablet, because then it becomes about sitting down on your couch and flipping through your digital stuff like that, or web browsing very casually.
I don't find the playbook is great for browsing the web, because it has a great web browser, but the way that it lays it all out, like if I go ahead and look at CrackBerry on the playbook browser, I can hardly see anything. I have to flip it around, it's almost like it's too small at that point. And same with pretty much any 7-inch tablet. I have an Nexus 7, and it suffers from the same problem. You can't get enough of the content on that screen, a 7-inch screen, to be able to go ahead and enjoy the internet the way that you want. Apps look great, but when you get out onto the real internet and the real web pages, that's where it starts to really bother me and make me want that really big form factor of the iPad.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you go back to my original, BlackBerry Playbook review, it was probably one of the world's longest device reviews. It was good at that, though, because one of the bad things was I actually critiqued the size of it a lot, and that probably wasn't really what I should have done in that particular review. But that was the case I made. Was it's like carrying around a paperback novel versus a magazine, and there's advantages and disadvantages to both, right? The portability of the 7-inch is great. There's a lot of things where it is nice and effective due to the size. I mean, even holding it up and using it as a camera. I mean, my mom's main use of her Playbook is literally to carry it in her purse. She takes it to all the things where her grandkids are at. She records the HD video, and the footprint of it is no bigger than an SLR, except it's nice and thin. She records video and then she plays it back right there. And I mean, that's an awesome thing that you're just not going to do with a tablet. I mean, you could, or an iPad, you could, but you look like an idiot if you do. and that's
lots of people look like idiots out there.
It's true. But I mean, that Nexus 7, did they even put a camera on it or not?
No, just a front-facing camera.
Like, again, right there, my mom wouldn't buy that device now because it gave up the thing she really wanted on it, which is a nice camera because she reuses it as a camera. So there's a video.
It's only got a front-facing camera for Skype and stuff like that.
Bottom line, even if that 10-inch Playbook doesn't exist right now, I sure would like to add that to my collection just so I could have it. So if somebody's watching this and has a 10-inch Playbook, and wants to ship it to me,
I think they'll do it. I mean, ultimately, like you said, Kevin, RIM has become a mobile computing company. I think they even hired somebody in a VP or SVP position whose title is like VP or SVP of mobile computing. And as long as they stick with the aspect ratio, they can produce whatever bloody size they want, right? Whether you're looking at think of an HD TV, right? Whether you're looking at a 42-inch or a 46 or a 50 or a 60 or whatever, it's all the same 1080p display. So the aspect ratio is chosen and is standard across the industry. And I think everyone but Apple is pretty much moving to that 16:9 type of form factor. Not exactly 16:9, but whatever, something like that. So as long as they go and pick their form factor, they can go out and they can make multiple devices, or let's say two different sizes, and even use the exact same pixel resolution.
Beautiful.
I want the battery from that thing. You see the battery listed 750 milliamp per hour.
Or what?
What's the Playbook? The Playbook's only got like 4,300, right? Yeah.
Not as big as ideally it could be.
Yeah, that's almost like twice the size of the battery. I take that.
10-inch Playbook, in the future, but let's talk about the new Playbook that got announced last week that goes on sale this week.
It's got the 4Gs and the Wi-Fi and the GB. I'm sorry. The GBs.
Right. So 4G LTE Playbook, it's hitting Canada first, then Europe, then the USA. It's the same as the first Playbook, except there's no 16 gig version. It starts at 32.
There is nothing else, right? It's just 32.
Just 30.
Okay. And that's it. That's kind of what, it's going to launch with what version? Is it going to launch with 2.1 software or 2.
Well, that's debatable. Nobody knows, except for RIM at this point.
Right.
They said that it had a software update available, which the BlackBerry Playbook Wi-Fi version of the Playbook was already receiving, and that was 201.688, which they coincidentally pulled from the Wi-Fi Playbook. So it's either going to come with that OS preloaded, or as soon as you flip it on, it's going to go ahead and prompt you to update to 2.1 version at some point.
Yeah.
Interesting that they pulled it. What was the reason RIM gave you there?
Well, yeah. I don't know. They said that it was bricking playbook. Any playbook out there that was like still running a version 1.0, if they downloaded the 2.0.1.688 version, some of those playbooks on 1.0 whatever OS, which I don't even understand who the hell would still be on that OS at this point. But anyways, it was bricking those ones. So they went ahead and they pulled it. And rather than having a bad user experience, they just decided to go ahead and take it down. But some people managed to get it. Some people didn't. Some people didn't actually give a crap about it because all they want is 2.1, which is RIM at this point is basically just sitting on, waiting. So, long story short with it is that we don't actually know what OS will be coming on the playbook 4G LTE when you actually turn it on. But hopefully there'll be 2.1 available at that point.
What sucks for me is I'm going to grab one, shortly, but I don't think where I live, Rogers has rolled out their LTE yet. I think it's coming in another month or two. So that kind of sucks. I'm not sure how I'm going to do a good speed test.
I guess
I was going to ask you how's the speed, but I guess if you can't test it, then.
Well, I mean, I'll get 3G, HSPA plus speed, but I won't get 4G LTE speed. Maybe Yumi, you can go grab one also, because Toronto has it, right?
Yeah, Toronto's got it. Yeah, I've got LTE, like 4 bars in my backyard.
Okay, so we might have to
get
LTE. I will try to get you one also, so you can help me on speed tests.
That'd be fantastic. I'll try it out.
And they will be awesome, and it'll win the internets.
How'd that work? I just said you'd have to buy me one so that I could do it, and then you just turn around and told Yumi you'd get him one.
Sorry, Blaze, you have the LTE where you are?
I got all the LTEs.
Why the hell?
Blaze has all the antennas in Halifax.
But why would Halifax get it before Winnipeg? This is bull. That's crap. We're way more of a city than you.
Rogers has LTE here. TELUS has LTE here. Bell has LTE here.
This is garbage. That is
lit up
I did not
Christmas tree.
I am livid. If the Halifaxes has the LTEs before the Winnipegs, that's crap.
That's garbage. That's Garburator.
This is unbelievable. Syncerator.
Unbelievable.
Disposal unit. Crap. I'm mad. Move on. That's it for playbook.
All right, let's talk some BlackBerry 10.
4G LTE playbook review coming.
Let's talk some non-LTE BlackBerry 10.
So, I mean, do we expect anything with this 4G LTE playbook? Like, it's got LTE, so it'll be fast.
We expect people to bitch and moan about the price.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to bring up next. Is what do we think about the price? It seems to me it's pretty high.
It's pretty high. It's pretty high outright, but it doesn't necessarily seem high to go ahead and buy it on contract, which I would like to point out I think is pretty much the most useless thing in the world, and I don't understand as to why anybody would buy a tablet of all things under a contract, but it's reasonably priced when you actually when you put it in comparison to other tablets offered by carriers. The Playbook actually comes out as being one of the cheaper 4G tablets that is offered by carriers. Rogers is offering the Samsung Galaxy Tab 8.9 right now for like $649.99 outright, and the Playbook will come, what was it, $550, something like that. So it's actually $100. It's actually $100 cheaper than every other piece of equipment out there with similar specs. So.
And it seems like the subsidy the carriers are willing to throw at it is $200 on a 2-year contract, a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see what happens in other markets. So we can't judge it yet because Canada sometimes does different things. But I was expecting, a 3-year contract more than a $200 subsidy on the device.
Honestly, I don't see many people picking it up.
I don't think it's going to be a number one best seller. I mean, especially if you consider the BlackBerry bridge and tethering capabilities of the Playbook. I mean, I guess you don't get the LTE there necessarily, but it's a device as it is a nice complement to a phone, and especially to a BlackBerry. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. And, going back to even what you said, Blaze, about kind of the 7-inch web browsing on a tablet. I mean, yes, it's portable. LTE is really nice for fast web browsing, but then the 7-inch display isn't totally optimal for tons of web browsing. So it kind of depends on what your priorities are. I mean,
yeah. It'll be interesting just to see how much, as long as RIM doesn't have to write any of them down, it'll be all right.
I'm sure I don't even know if they have to, because I thought the existing Playbooks had, a quote cavity in them to slot in the LTE.
Yeah.
It's probably a way to use the exact same. I wouldn't doubt if we see some of the hardware hit. Can we check the manufacturing dates on them fairly easy or not? Because they don't really have like a battery door like BlackBerry's did. But
it's on that the info along the bottom. The only thing that I noticed different too, like where the the regular Wi-Fi Playbook has like the 32 gig and all the info down the bottom there. They had their stock photo with the press release, and it's got the 4G LTE listed. So if they were going to convert these or anything, like I guess the least they would have to do is swap out like the back
graphic on the bottom.
But,
right. So it'll be a different hardware build, I guess, mainly.
But and that's the other thing too. I mean, you say hopefully they don't have to write down any, but like who knows how many they have in the first place, So
true.
If they learned from the past, then maybe they planned better.
Well, I'm still excited because I get to write a review, and I don't think I've really written one since like the Bold 9900 that I've been uber passionate about. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great solution for people who maybe don't necessarily have a BlackBerry right now, or want something to go ahead and take advantage of 4G LTE. But mostly everybody who wanted to buy a Playbook has already bought a Wi-Fi version, and I don't truly see a huge demand for one that's just specifically with 4G LTE on it. So nobody gives a shit about a Playbook with 4G LTE. They want a BlackBerry 10 device with 4G LTE in their hands. So.
True. But this will be upgradable to BB10 at some point. So
yeah, if
there is some marketing incentives and things, it's kind of fun. You can be an early adopter and feel good about it.
I'm an early adopter of everything.
You sure are.
It's actually, we haven't really talked about that recently, as we know, RIM has confirmed that the Playbook will get an update to BB10. It makes sense since it's all, the QNX-based OS. But we haven't really talked about what they'll do on the UI for the tablet differently, because, what they've shown off of BlackBerry 10 on the handsets, it's all about the glance gesture, the hook into your inbox. Those are very much like one-handed ease of use type of, UI we're seeing, and like things geared towards a phone specifically. Are they going to take that and put it onto the Playbooks and the tablets straight up? Because it almost seems like it might be weird to have that a little bit.
It's a good question.
Or are they going to keep things more tablet optimized, kind of what it is today? Like, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it is a really interesting question.
And what's interesting is we really have no insight into it right now. Like, we honestly don't have a clue.
That's part of the problem with Research in Motion when they actually decided to go with QNX. Because now, remember when the BlackBerry Playbook came out? People were shocked that the BlackBerry Playbook actually existed. There was rumors of it existing, but nobody actually managed to get a hands-on preview of the hardware. Nobody got to see like actual pre-release shots of it or anything. People were genuinely surprised at the hardware when RIM showed it off because they never saw it before. They just had rumored pieces of information. And that's kind of like the exact same thing that they're doing right now with the BlackBerry 10 devices. They took all of that QNX stuff and they kept it inside QNX. So nobody from like the expanded research and motion where we would normally see device leaks and hardware leaks got any of that stuff to actually leak. And that's kind of like why there's a lull in the device department as well. I know for a fact Research in Motion has tons of devices that they're already prepared. There's numerous devices that are already ready to roll out, but we haven't seen any of them because they're kind of keeping everything underground at this point, just like they did with the BlackBerry Playbook. They're running beta. They're running beta tests on hardware internally right now as we speak. I know this. They're just being coy about it, and they're hiding all of that stuff, and we can't see it.
The key thing here, Blaze, it's the word carriers. It's not expanded RIM community. It's that with the Playbook, it never had to go to any carriers for carrier approval because it was Wi-Fi's only. So, of course, it wouldn't leak because RIM doesn't leak stuff. It's usually carrier partners do. Even extended RIM is decent, talking about their overseas people and that kind of thing. But, with BB10 phones, at some point, it's going to have to go to carriers for approval, but kind of listening to what the CMO said about early marketing, I think that's where, they time that sort of to be one and the same. I think they start to give us the bigger glimpses at BB10 phones as they ramp up dealing with carriers for approval, because really this whole overhanging the market thing doesn't even matter for RIM anymore. BB7 and the low cost phones are gearing it toward in another few months. Like, you're not losing sales. It's totally different spectrums of the market. And RIM has always been one to say there's a high-end market and a low-end market, even though that might not be the case anymore. That's how they view it. So you just know they're going to start showing us BB10 earlier, probably when they think leaks will start to happen. So they take control of them. I think they're really smarter about leaks now and managing them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Should we, what else is happening on the BB10 front?
I think we got a couple things there we can talk about. Blaze can chat for a little bit on the Dev Alpha. There was that photo editor that popped up, and then the Siri-like functionality with the voice commands and stuff, so we can chat a little bit on that.
Yeah, that was some good stuff right there. Not getting biased because it was my work or anything, but I managed to come across a file, let's just say, of the upcoming photo editor, or at least what RIM is working towards as being the photo editor for the BlackBerry 10 devices. As we know, they want to go ahead and really take control of some of that stuff. So rather than waiting for people to go ahead and build apps, they kind of baked a sort of Instagram-like functionality directly into the BlackBerry 10 Dev Alpha. So you can go ahead, you can create picture frames, you can adjust your pictures, remove noise, crop them out, basic photo editing functionality on BlackBerry 10 devices that never really was there for BlackBerry 7 devices or previous devices. So it's really, really interesting that they've gone ahead and built it directly into the OS. I mean, at this point, it makes sense. Even iOS revamped their photo editing solution, their onboard photo editing solution over the past couple of OSs, so you can reduce red eye, you can automatically enhance the image directly on your device. And as you all know, the iPhone 4S takes great pictures, so it really makes it useful. But they're sort of also, Research in Motion is sort of squashing that Instagram thing as well, just in case Instagram, for whatever reason, doesn't necessarily decide to build an application for BlackBerry 10. Kind of really doesn't matter because you have some of that functionality built in. And I know most people will say that Instagram isn't necessarily the filters, and it's a social networking of it all. But we already know that Research in Motion is building in the sharing options directly into BlackBerry 10 as well. So if you want to fire up a picture to Twitter, you can do that. You want to fire up a picture to Facebook, you can do that. You want to send it by email, you can do that. It's not the same, but, it's one of those things that's going to be built in there and ready to go that Research in Motion never actually dived into before. And hopefully that's some of that TAT influence shining through. And
yeah. So Blaze, is that kind of like scrapbook features built into the photo editor as well natively?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like the scrapbook and like Android photo editing solutions built directly into BlackBerry 10 devices. And
that's awesome.
You can change the filters. You can adjust your images, reduce red eye, whatever. There was more actually in that package that I couldn't show because I couldn't get it out of the package to show it to everybody. Needless to say, I wasn't supposed to have that file, but they have like.
I like when it's like I'm not supposed to have this. Leaks don't happen, but I have this file, and here's what's in it.
RIM doesn't leak stuff. The carriers leak stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But
CrackBerry secrets, Blaze's secrets.
Yeah. I took a couple of frames out of the actual package, and you can see like how you can create your own frames, add your own frames to it, and such like that. But there was probably about 10 more frames that were actually built into that package that I couldn't extract out of it to show everybody. So I pulled out what I could, but there's more to that package than what I was able to show. And even though I couldn't get it fully working because it requires an updated camera, it's coming. It's going to be there. And I know RIM has it working beautifully. I mean, it's a nice thing.
I want BlackBerry 10 already. You know what I'm going to say about Instagram, though, is I bet RIM breathed a big sigh of relief when Facebook bought them. Because actually RIM has had a pretty decent relationship with Facebook. I mean, we've had the apps. They've always had a working relationship. I mean, integration on BlackBerry 10 into the unified messaging. You can add your Facebook accounts. And I think with Facebook owning Instagram, that business relationship probably went to another level where they should be able to amicably figure out how to make sure there is Instagram on BB10 at launch. I hope, we got just 2 minutes left, so we got to wind her down. I think
I don't know what's up with this. Like, we're only like 49 minutes in.
I thought we were an hour in.
Not by my
I called in early because Blaze was late for the podcast.
Huh. Hey, man.
Well, then we got lots of time. No. I actually think we should start doing these podcasts regularly again. Now, I know I say this, but I feel like I'm a little out of practice.
Broken promises.
No, I feel like I'm a little out of practice. And Adam, I'm blogging. I'm getting back into my like every day we blog, and
it's pretty impressive.
So we need to just keep these going. So that means we don't have to cover every single thing today because we'll have next week too.
We still got that.
But what do you think RIM should call their version of Siri? I think it should be called Kevin. Kevin.
Of course you do.
Kevin. It's such a nice name. It's very, non-threatening. It's assertive. It's, Siri's all like, what the hell's Siri? Sounds weird. But Kevin, I think.
Call it Johnny 5.
Johnny 5. Maybe they should let you pick your name. That would be nice.
Maybe they should call it Usain and give us the fastest answers possible.
Oh, jeez.
Usain Bolt is a BlackBerry user.
Yeah.
So I think...
is he a BlackBerry Bolt user?
If this new CMO is any good, he will be on top of that immediately, trying to get...
Totally.
Giving him some money and being like, I use BlackBerry. So...
Yeah, RIM built some Siri functionality into the BlackBerry 10 Dev Alpha.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Kevin.
We should finish the show with a little contest so that we can say there's a contest at the end of the show, so you need to listen to the whole thing to find out the details. And we should give away some BlackBerry by Choice t-shirts, which are now available in both hardcore and PG versions.
Awesome.
It was I gotta say, it's pretty funny to see how much you can tick people off and then win back their love very easily. So, before Waterloo, we posted a design for a BlackBerry, by choice T-shirt, which was giving the middle finger. We're number one, and it got very mixed feedback. A ton of people absolutely loved it, and then a lot of people were like, "This is childish, not classy, distasteful, everything else." But that controversy is good, right? So then we got some of those T-shirts made by our friends at RevBerry, and they put them up, and we blogged that, hey, you can now buy the BlackBerry, by choice hardcore T-shirt. And literally when that post went up, I got just ripped apart. It was 100 comments. I don't know, maybe 5 of them said it was okay, and the rest were just like, "Oh my God, Kevin should be fired." And Blaze,
you get fired, man. Yeah,
you can't fire the founder of the site. I don't think that's possible. So it's pretty funny. But then, so then I talked to our designer. I'm like, okay, we better, do some other, let's do the PG version right now. So within 6 hours, we had the BlackBerry by choice thumbs up versions, the 2 CrackBerry thumbs versions up. Ran a contest saying, hey, take your choice of hardcore version or PG version. And on that contest, not one person rips you apart at the hardcore version. And then people had to choose in the comments, which version they wanted. And it was 50-50. But everybody was like happy. So it was just pretty funny. I mean, my new bottom line is, when in doubt, give stuff away, because then all sins are forgiven, I think.
It should be when in doubt, give stuff out.
When in doubt, give stuff out. Yeah, that's probably a good note to end this show on. Tell people how to win a free T-shirt. Send an email to contests. I think
they can do contest at crackberry.com.
Send an email to contest@crackberry.com. Tell us your T-shirt size and if you want the hardcore or PG version of the BlackBerry by choice T-shirt. And also tell us why you love the CrackBerry podcast and who your favorite person is. And then we'll pick some winners there. We'll try to give away 5 or 10.
Adam's probably picking winners to make sure Adam's your favorite.
Kevin's picking winners.
Do we hold up fingers
Kevin's
now?
hair is picking the winners.
Yes.
I'm going to start a Twitter
account. It's just like American Idol. Vote for me, number 3.
I'm number 1. I'm number 1.
Next podcast, Kevin's hair is going to be like a Muppet. Like it's going to start singing and dancing in the middle of the podcast. Hello, my honey. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal.
Pretty much. Okay, guys. I think that's it for this show. Oh, wait. I wanted to say one thing, because we're going to let Renee Ritchie, our podcast producer, do our outro. So first, we'll make fun of him, because on all the sites lately, we've been having this little bit of, what's missing from your platform? What would you like to see in your platform kind of content? Which all kind of started because Dan on Windows Phone Central, he got a hold of the Windows Phone 8 SDK, which they ripped apart, right? And then once they saw everything, they kind of said, oh, okay, what features do you think are missing? And then Renee on iMore, he did a post saying, what features do you think, Apple still needs to add to iOS for, iPhone 5? And it's funny because if you read that post, literally all the most popular answers are BlackBerry features. It's like, it needs a notification light. The iPhone needs a notification light. It needs better multitasking that doesn't suck like the app switcher. It needs, I have a call from Rim here. 519.
Let's talk to him live on the air.
Hang on. Keep talking. Oh, I will do that.
Put it on speaker.
Answer it on your HTC One.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right, so while Kevin's talking to Research in Motion, BlackBerry,
apparently the Chronicle Herald, I don't know if you guys actually saw it, but they ran a report the other day talking about all the different phone users out there, smartphone users, and they said it had a poll being, where do you fit in? Are you an iOS user, Windows user? Anyways, a few BlackBerry people managed to go ahead and get a hold of the poll. Needless to say, they ran that right up. Because it was a report that was basically proclaiming the death of RIM, and nobody used BlackBerries anymore. But, yeah, everybody kind of proved them wrong. And now the girl who wrote it, she has her Twitter name is something witty on Twitter. Yeah, right?
Do you want to know how awesome RIM is, Blaze?
What?
We already hooked up your 4G LTE playbook. That's the turnaround time.
Boom. Look at that. Right on the podcast.
Boom.
Amazing.
Done. Take care of.
All right.
So you can do all the speed test stuff because you have the coverage, and then I'll assuming they have enough, I'll get one also, and then I'll do photos and things, and we'll tag team this review. It'll be a peer. Okay.
All right. You just saved me some work, Blaze. Fantastic. On that note, I gotta drop off. So if you guys want to end it, you can. Or
sounds good. I'm gonna jump on our daily tech call because we got awesome stuff happening in Mobile Nations land. I am so excited. We had all of our EICs in the PEG a week and a half ago, and yeah, it's actually just purely awesome. All the stuff that's happening. I can't even wait to see where we are in 6 months because it's amazing. So on that note, Renee, if you're there, lead us out.
Well, first I'm going to ask you where we can find out more about you, Kevin.
On Twitter at CrackBerry Kevin. I think I broke like 34,000 Twitter followers, and I'm on a mission to pass the Winnipeg Jets by the end of the year.
Because they think you're a boy band now.
They think yes. So please follow me if you're not, and tell your friends to follow. And on CrackBerry.com because I'm making sure I post more often because some of my chief media officer duties were preventing that. But now I'm just not sleeping. So lots of posts and lots of everything. It's awesome.
Adam?
Sorry. You can find me on crackberry.com daily, about me /Adam on Twitter at @azeiss, and floating around New Jersey in various places.
Bars. Mostly bars.
The bars.
Chris?
I am in Halifax. Oh, wait, that's wrong. Yeah. You can catch me on Twitter at Blaze, BLA1ZE. You can also find me on CrackBerry. You can check me out on Android Central and occasionally some iMore business as well. So, yeah, do it. Love me.
And you can find everybody at CrackBerry. You can email podcast@crackberry.com or just leave a comment on the post when it goes live. You can find all of our shows at mobilenations.com/shows. And please come back and join us again the next time Kevin feels the hell like it.
Did you say, Adam, that RIM is up 10% right now?
Yeah, earlier they were. Yeah, I think it's kind of trickling back down again.
Just jumped.
But why was it up? What's the news?
I don't know. I tasked you me on
a podcast.
Okay, awesome. Let's Adam, dig into it, newsroom style here. Let's get this done. Figure out what the story is. And on that note, everybody, we're gonna actually try to talk to you in like a week or so next week. So Renee, make sure it happens one way or another.
Kevin, do it.
We gotta do it, and that's it.
Everybody, hold your breath.
See you guys. Love you. Woo!
Peace out.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.